And we have Janet Phelan calling in live from Mexico to give her report. Janet is a reporter at large, covering some mighty interesting, deep, and, grave stories, having to basically leave the country because of some of the things that she was investigating now in Mexico. And welcome, Janet.
Thank you very much, James. It's good to be back on your show. I'd like to start off by wishing everyone a happy Mother's Day. If you still have your mother, if she hasn't been taken from you, by a guardian or a nursing home or someone who just wants her for her money. We've got a big problem going on with that now, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you've been covering that off. People can look at these. I got a playlist on our YouTube channel that has Janet's messages, so this will be there as well as many others. You can, for those who just found out about this, can catch up on it. It's pretty eye-opening stuff.
Well, we actually have a new book out. It's a compilation of articles and stories about guardianship. It was published by Michael Larson, and the book is entitled Guardianship: How Judges and Lawyers Steal Your Money. So that book will give you, further information about this very concerning, shall we say, blip on what we are calling democracy, where they can actually come in, declare you incompetent without even having you see a doctor. They can declare you incompetent, and then you lose all your rights and all your money, and your family can't come see you either because they might get upset about how you're being treated. This is what's happening, and the book is a major step forward in basically information warfare, in letting us know, what the truth is about what's happening in our country. So while we're talking about books, I do have a new book out myself. And this is a collection of poetry entitled Held Captive. And if you Google it, you'll see that there was some wonderful artwork done on the cover by a local artist, and it shows the earth in a jail cell. And that perception is really what informs this collection of poetry, that the entire world is now being held captive, either through misinformation, through wage slavery. Basically, there are a lot of strategies and mechanisms that are keeping us in chains. So with your permission, I'd just like to read like one or two poems from the new book, and then we'll move on towards discussing other issues of note. Is that all right with you?
Sure.
Okay. Right. So, okay, I'm going to read this poem called A Commanding Principle. A shaft of sunlight stirs you from your reverie. You step down off the bus. A light rain is falling. The street is littered with broken pieces of fallen gods. Could it be that no one else notices? You step over what appears to be part of a massive index finger, an earlobe here, pieces of femur and scapula there, the staff of Jove, or is it Jehovah, over there, and you make your way through the ruined city. The traffic is light. The sun has reversed itself, and all energy now flows back towards its source. Although the newspaper coverage of this has been spotty, but you are no longer focused on the weather, the white streaks of vapor Prozac painting the Argyle skies, or the rumors of wars in distant lands. There is a bigger issue, a commanding principle, and you step over a broken tablet and wend your way home. So that's a sample from the book. The book is available on the book patch, as is Exile. And I'd like to use that a bit as a jumping off point. Okay, there's a bigger issue. Well, what is that bigger issue? What is going on that should be commanding our attention right now? And I believe you and I, James, have had a number of discussions about the spiritual aspect of what's happening on the planet now, in terms of all of the lies being put forth, in terms of people being held captive, not only figuratively, but also now literally, people being put in jail when they try to basically tell the truth. The whole ball of wax. What is really going on with this? And in pursuit of trying to possibly answer some of these large questions, I do have a new article up on New Eastern Outlook. You can find it there today, entitled, "Is the U.S. a Carefully Constructed Mock-Up?" And the idea of a mock-up being a facade, possibly a model of a structure without really being the thing itself. And the questions that I'm asking in this article is the U.S. actually a constitutional republic? Or is it like a mock-up? Is it something that's supposed to make us think it's a constitutional republic when it's not at all? So in the article, I'm attempting to basically, first of all, define the U.S. What is the U.S., okay? And I define it in two ways. First is a system of laws, and second, as a territory which is defined by its borders. And then I go into some details as to how both of these descriptions might reveal that the U.S. is a mock-up, or what I call a simulation, something to make us think that this is what's going on when it's not. And I believe actually in this perception. I think that whatever its roots were, whatever the intention of our founding fathers were, something else has happened, and this something else wants very much to persuade us that it's a kindly democracy with equal rights and justice for all and all that good stuff, when in fact it is the exact opposite. And not only that, it has terrible plans for us, which are discussed and linked to in detail, which are not in any sense what our founding fathers would have expected or what they were intending. So I don't mean to be alarmist here, because really I think a lot of people are alarmed, and I think people are becoming justifiably concerned, and I think that they need to have more information. I think we all need more information, because I still believe in my deepest part of my soul that the truth will set us free. And this is the purpose of writing the articles and of doing your shows. And so that is my presentation for tonight. Do you have any comments or questions or anything, James?
I like your use of the term mock-up, because I was in simulation. I was listening to a book, or a book on tape, which of course it's a whole series called Subhuman or something. And for the most part, I didn't particularly like it. It was just something to listen to. But there was one aspect of it where they had these sims running to see how people would work. And it was all a computer simulated, because the mind, and in this novel, the mind, they could simulate your consciousness into a computer, whatever. And it was kind of interesting that they were doing these things where you created this complete false world. It put these consciousness in it, and then with the advent of some new talk with Ray Kurzweil about downloading a consciousness into a robot, a computer, and then I just happened to see a Transcendence the other day. It's kind of all interesting how it's probably this is what we're having. We're actually living in a sim, only instead of having it computer driven, it's situationally driven. So they get us to do what they're going to do through programming, and just like getting rats to go through a maze. You reward them here, you shock them there, and the mock-up aspect of it is like in the Matrix. We perceive this United States being this constitutional, landed free, home of the brave, blah blah blah. That's the mock-up, and the reality is we are being harvested for energy in terms of money or work or what have you. And so I think what we're seeing is it probably always has been this way. It's just that the mock-up is becoming more and more realized to be phony and be a mock-up. So it's kind of a good way to phrase what we're looking out into the world and seeing is it's a mock-up as opposed to what we think it is. And when she left. She's coming back. When you think it is what it is, and then all of a sudden the shock of the reality, when the rubber hits the road, so to speak, this is what I think we're coming to now, is that we're actually becoming more and more aware of what the real world is. There we go.
Lost you.
Yeah, I was kind of rambling here, but in essence, winding it up was what's happening, I think, now is becoming, we're finding the reality of it. When you have a cognitive dissonance of what the reality is versus what you believe it is, reality will always win in the contest. And I think that reality is now crashing in on us. And thus, it's revealing that it's a mock-up. And the real reality, which is not a mock-up, is landing on us like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, the real reality is actually pretty brutal. And I think people would, it would be understandable that people would want to avert their eyes and deny it. Because as I conclude in the article, this sim, it wants to have us for dinner. And I don't mean as its honored guests. So I think with the reality crashing in on us, we're probably in a much better place than we were when we were just la-di-da, everything's fine. So as uncomfortable as this situation may be for some people, I think it is actually a step in the right direction.
Well, reality always is a step in the right direction. The problem is that when you step into reality, sometimes the dissonance is so traumatic that it can cause people to lose your mind, lose your insanity, and so on. So the problem is we have been slipping and living into this false delusion or illusion for so long that some people are so deep into it that they just can't. They can't. The investment that they have into the delusion is so far that they can't imagine it not being that way, and they're going to have to deal with it. And I've already been through my own, crash with reality several times, so I'm not going to have as dramatic of one as others because I've already had some of my illusions and delusions smashed, and it was quite traumatic. So I can empathize with that, regardless of who you want to blame for the disconnect. I can empathize with the trauma that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunate that a lot of our problems are been thrust on us by the powers that be, and we might be blamed for allowing it to some way, but it's not that simple. We have been programmed. Oh, lost her again. We have been programmed and prodded and tempted and manipulated. So we're gonna have our own knocks in this, but we are not doing this totally on our own. But I think if she comes back, we'll end the segment with her because it looks like we're gonna have to end it anyway. All right. Well, she is actually calling it a day. She can't get through. So let me go over here. Oh, and let me go over there and stop that. So that was Janet Phelan. You can see her articles on New Eastern Outlook. Her latest article is the U.S. Carefully Constructed Mock-Up. Again, links are on our front page. Plus, you can hook up to a playlist of these videos. So, once again, thank you, Janet, for being here.